Myself, Hariba Prasad Damarla, a retired Deputy General Manager from BSNL and ex-adjunct professor, EC Department, PSMR College of Engineering and Technology, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. So we will continue with our discussion on GSM concepts. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel. Now let us look into the operating environment of mobile communication. As the name suggests, in mobile communication, the user may be moving from one place to the other place. Due to mobility, the radio signals between a base station and the mobile terminals undergo a variety of alterations as they travel from the transmitter to the receiver. Even within the same cell, they undergo alterations. It need not be from one base station to other base station. Within the same base station also, it will undergo certain alterations due to mobility of the user. These changes are due to physical separation of transmitter and receiver. In the downlink, base station is the transmitter and mobile station is the receiver. Similarly, in the uplink, mobile station is the transmitter and the base station is the receiver. Then the other point is the physical environment of the path. That is the path between the base station and the user. So the environment is the terrain condition, that buildings and the other obstacles in between the transmitter, that is base station, and the receiver user, or vice versa. Then let us look into fading in wireless communication. Fading refers to the attenuation of the signal unpredictably. So we cannot predict it. It is very difficult to predict the attenuation due to fading at the receiver, causing signal transmission problems. Fading depends upon various variables like the time, the geographical position, and the radio frequency. In wireless systems, fading may be due to multipath propagation, referred to as multipath induced fading, weather, particularly rain attenuation. So this is the attenuation caused by the rain. So this you can observe in your direct to home TV viewing also. When you are viewing the channels, suddenly if the rain starts in your area, so you may not be receiving the channels for some time. So this is the effect of the attenuation caused by rain. Shadowing from obstacles affecting the wave propagation, sometimes referred to as shadow fading. Now let us look into multipath fading. Here if you can see in the left side in this diagram, so this is the transmitter base station and this is the receiver, the user in a car. So the user may get signal from the base station in the direct path like this, or he may get the signal ground reflected mode like this, or he may get the signal after getting it reflected from the high-rise buildings like this. And sometimes the signal may be diffracted through small buildings and signal the receiver may get like this. So there are multi-paths between the transmitter and the receiver. In multi-path propagation, the signal reaches the receiver via multiple paths, as we have discussed. When there are multiple signals at the same frequency, there is a potential possibility for destructive interference because of phase shifted signals arriving from different directions. So because you are getting signals from different directions, so there can be destructive interference. Sometimes they may be in phase and aid each other and improve signal strength. Sometimes the direct path and reflected path or diffracted paths, they may be in phase with the direct path signal, then it may improve the signal strength. Sometimes it may be out of phase, which may lead to reduction in signal strength. Then we will see the fading effects and solutions. Fading can cause poor performance in a communication system due to loss of signal power without reducing the noise power. So here this fading will deteriorate the signal condition wherein there is a loss of signal power, but there is no change in noise power. Therefore, the signal to noise ratio, noise power remains the same, whereas the signal power is attenuated. Therefore, the ratio between the wanted signal power and the unwanted noise power will be less. So, which leads to poor communication. Fading can also be a problem as it changes over time. So, fading can change depending upon the time. For example, in the early morning or in the winter season in the morning session, so due to fog, the signal may be attenuated. So other times the signal attenuation is normal attenuation. So therefore the fading changes as per the time. Communication systems are often designed to adapt to such impairments. So the design, they will consider all these factors and accordingly they will design the systems. But the fading can change faster than the adaptations contemplated. So the changes may occur than when compared to what we have taken into consideration while designing the system. In such cases, the probability of experiencing a fade and associated bit errors due to the dropping of signal to noise ratio becomes the limiting factor in the link's performance. So because of the deterioration of SNR, so it becomes a limiting factor in link design performance. The effects of fading can be combated by using diversity technique, a technique known as diversity. What is that? We will try to understand. In diversity, the signal is transmitted over multiple channels that experience independent fading and combining them at the receiver. Therefore, the probability of experiencing a fade in this composite channel is less. Because of the diversity we are using, instead of sending on a single channel, if the signal is transmitted over more than one channel, so the probability of fading from all the channels is remote. So that is how we can minimize the fading effect by transmitting on more than one channel. Diversity can be achieved either in frequency or in space. Space means antenna, to overcome the signal fading. That means you can transmit the signal in two different frequencies so that if one channel one frequency channel, if there is some fading, the other frequency may not undergo the fading effects. So this is known as frequency diversity because you are using more than one frequency. Similarly, space diversity. In space diversity, the signal is transmitted from the base station. Instead of using one antenna, maybe two antennas spaced apart, maybe 2 or 3 meters at a different level. So the probability of fading can be reduced by using this space diversity technique. Then we will see the Doppler effect and fading. Here you can see, here let us assume this is the base station, this is the user signal, and here the user, though he is a mobile user, is not moving, he is stationary. Okay, here the user is moving away from the base station. This is the base station. The user has moved farther away from the base station. Okay, here there is a decrease in the frequency with reference to this this position where the user is not moving. Then now in this case the user is moving towards the base station, so the distance is decreased between the base station and the user. It leads to increase in frequency. So let us discuss these Doppler effects. Due to mobility of the subscriber, that is user, a change occurs in the frequency of the received RF signals. The phenomena is known as Doppler effect or Doppler shift. As we have seen, when the user is moving with reference to the transmitter, so there is a change in frequency. The change of frequency due to the physical movement of the user is known as Doppler effect or Doppler shift. As the user moves away from the base station, there is a frequency reduction at the receiver. If the user moves towards the base station, there can be increase in the frequency. These two conditions are with reference to the stationary situation. This is a stationary situation. This is moving away and moving towards the base station. Doppler effect plays a role in telecommunications and computations of the signal path loss and fading. So fading mitigation techniques. There are certain techniques by which the fading effect can be reduced or mitigated. Cellular mobile systems use the following techniques to counter the problems of fading and Doppler shift. One is channel coding, other one is equalization, number 3 is rake receivers, slow frequency hopping, antenna diversity. So these are the different techniques. Of course, as such, we don't discuss elaborately about all these techniques. These are the some of the techniques commonly used for addressing the Doppler shift and fading. Researchers are working a lot to mitigate the Doppler spread induced fading, particularly with regard to new frequency bands that will be used for the 5G cellular networks scheduled to roll out shortly. So they are working a lot on 5G with reference to Doppler effect, because 5G is can use not only the low frequency bands what at present we are using for 2G, 3G, 4G. So it is even contemplated to use millimeter waves also. So a lot of research is going on this aspect. Now we will discuss about the interference and system capacity. So what is interference and its effects? Interference is a major limiting factor in the performance of the cellular radio systems. Sources of interference are as furnished below. Another mobile in the same cell can cause interference. A call in progress in a neighboring cell also causes interference. Other base stations operating in the same frequency band, so within the some geographical zone, so other stations which are operating on the same frequency band of this base station can also cause interference. Any non-cellular system which inadvertently leaks energy into the cellular frequency band. Non-cellular systems also can leak some energy into the cellular frequency band what we are using. So this may also cause interference. These are the sources of interference. So what are the effects of interference? Interference on voice channels causes crosstalk. Okay, so interference causes crosstalk while you are speaking on mobile channel. Interference on control channels leads to missed and blocked calls due to errors in the digital signal. So if the interference is on control channels, we will further discuss about the GSM channels in a separate lecture. So at the time we will see the control channels or signaling channels. So it may lead to missed and blocked calls due to errors in the digital signaling. Further, we will see about the interference and system capacity. Interference is more severe in urban areas due to greater RF noise and large number of base stations and mobiles. So when compared to rural areas, in urban areas, we have more base stations and nearer to each other, and we have more number of mobile users. So this leads to more interference in urban areas. Interference has been recognized as a major bottleneck in increasing the capacity and is often responsible for dropped calls. So this is the main hurdle for increasing the capacity of the system, and is also responsible for dropped calls. So before you finish off your call, so your call may be disconnected. Once again, you have to make a call. There are two major types of system generated cellular interference. There are two types as far as the interference is concerned. They are co-channel interference and adjacent channel interference. So we will discuss about one after the other, co-channel interference and adjacent channel interference. Even though interfering signals are generated within the cellular system, they are difficult to control in practice due to random propagation effects. So it is very difficult to address because of its random propagation effects. Even more difficult to control interference from out-of-band users. So some out-of-band radio users also, they may cause interference to our mobile band. In practice, the transmitters from other operators cause interference since competitors, that is other telecom service providers, locate their base stations in close proximity to one another in order to provide comparable coverage to their customers. Here, all the telecom service providers, they have their base stations in densely populated or in the places like markets, shopping malls, railway stations, bus stations, where the users are more. So everybody will have his own base station. So all the base stations may lead to so many base stations within a small geographical area will cause interference from one operator to other operators, because everybody wants to provide good coverage in these busy areas. Now let us discuss about co-channel interference. Frequency reuse implies that in a given coverage area, there are several cells that use the same set of frequencies. This we have already seen. The same set of frequencies can be used geographically little bit far away. These cells are called co-channels, and the interference between these channels is called co-channel interference. The interference caused due to the same frequencies used in some other base station on the other base station is called co-channel interference. Unlike thermal noise, which can be overcome by increasing the signal to noise ratio, co-channel interference cannot be combated by simply increasing the carrier power of a transmitter. So SNR, to some extent, it can be resolved by increasing the transmitter power, but co-channel interference, it is not possible by increasing the carrier power of the transmitter. So why increasing in transmitter power also increase the interference to neighboring co-channels. If you increase your transmitter power, it will increase the co-channel interference in the neighboring channels. Therefore, to reduce the CCI, co-channel interference, co-channel cells must be physically separated by a minimum distance to provide sufficient isolation due to propagation. So to reduce the CCI, we have to reuse the frequencies among the base stations which are optimally far away. They should be isolated as far as possible so that the CCI can be improved. The CCI interference can be reduced, and CCI, the co-channel interference can be mitigated. Now let us see this co-channel, this one. Here it is using set A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Then here also you see another cluster A, B, C, D, E, F, G. These are the set of the frequencies. Here the frequency set A is used. Here in the second cluster also same frequencies set A is used. This distance is known as the physical distance between the co-channel cells. So this cell and this cell, this is the distance between these two base stations using the same frequencies. When the size of the cell is approximately the same and base stations transmit the same power, the co-channel interference ratio is independent of the transmitted power. So when the radius is same, okay, size of the cell is same and the transmitted power is the same, so the CCI is independent of the transmitted power. Okay, even if you increase or decrease, so it is independent. The CCI becomes a function of radius of the cell R and the distance between the centers of the nearest co-channels D. So this is the distance, co-channel distance. Okay, then the radius you can see, this is the radius of the cell. Okay, then co-channel interference is a function of Q, where Q is equal to D by R, that is the distance between co-channel base stations and the radius. Here we have assumed the radius of each cell is same, R, which is equal to root 3 into n, where n is the cluster size. Okay, n is the cluster size or reuse factor. Q is called co-channel reuse ratio. So we term the Q, which is equal to D by R, which is equal to root 3 n, is called co-channel reuse ratio. Higher value of Q means less interference. So that means the co-channels are far away, the distance between the co-channels is more. So then the value of Q, because the D is more and R remains the same, you will get a better Q. That means less interference. Lower value of Q means high interference. So if the Q is less, the interference is more, then it is inversely proportional. Q is equal to D by R is equal to root 3n implies that a small value of Q provides larger capacity. If Q is less, the capacity will be more since the cluster size is small, whereas a large value of Q improves the transmission quality due to smaller level of co-channel interference. So here the issue is like this. So if the cluster size is small, then the Q value is less, means the interference is high, but the capacity is more. It improves the capacity, but it also increases the co-channel interference. So therefore, a trade-off must be made between these two objectives in actual cellular design. The relation, so what is the optimum? We have to look into this. We have to trade off between whether Q should be high or Q should be low. The relation between the cluster size n and co-channel reuse ratio Q is furnished below. Here, if the cluster size is equal to 3, co-channel reuse ratio is equal to 3. When it is 7 cluster size, the reuse ratio is equal to 4.58. 12, so the co-channel reuse is equal to 6. When the cluster size is equal to n, that is 13, the co-channel reuse ratio is 6.24. But as the cluster size improves, the co-channel interference will be reduced, but at the same time, you do require more number of carriers. So there is a frequency resource issue as far as the radio or mobile communication is concerned. You cannot have too many frequencies. Spectrum is a scarce resource. Okay. C by I calculations and Q. We will look into this. The value of Q, that is co-channel interference reduction factor, also depends on C by I. What is that C by I? We will try to understand. Where C is the received carrier power from the desired transmitter and I is the co-channel interference received from all the interfering cells. So C is the received carrier power from the desired transmitter, from the base station to which you are connected. And I is the interference from all the co-channels from other base stations, that is interfering cells. Based upon the acceptable voice quality, the value of C by I is of 18 dB or more in 1G, that is which uses FDMA technology, and 12 dB or more in 2G, which uses FDMA and TDMA together, is desirable. So C by I, which is equal to or greater than 18 dB, is desirably first generation mobile technology which uses FDMA, and in case of 2G which uses FDMA, TDMA composite technology. So the value of 12 or more is desirable. Here what we have assumed, it is a 7-cell reuse pattern and omnidirectional antenna. Let us sum up what we have discussed in this session. Effects of the operating environment on mobile communication, the fading and its attenuation, Doppler effect and shift, how the frequency varies with reference to the base station, the location of the user with reference to the base station. Fading mitigation techniques, what are the techniques that will reduce the fading effect? Co-channel interference we have seen. Co-channel reuse factor we have discussed. That is pros and cons of higher Q and smaller Q. So by increasing the higher Q, what is the difficulty? For reducing the Q, what is the issues we have to address? Both the pros and cons of higher and smaller Q we have discussed. So this is what we have discussed for today. Thank you.